But let's talk to Angela Levin, because we've got far more important things to discuss. Harry and Meghan literally have got nothing left to say. The greatest news ever, Angela. Very good afternoon to you.
Hello. There, it makes you laugh. I mean, it's if you notice it, and I'm sorry to disappoint you here, right? But when there's some sort of catastrophe, big or small, catastrophes are always big, I suppose.
Yes.
They come out with a whole reel of things to make you feel that they've moved on and everything's all right. I mean, one of them was that they were going to move out of Montecito and find a bigger house somewhere else. Another was that they were going to leave America and go to Africa, which is what Harry wanted to belong. You remember that one? Then we've got Meghan's memoirs coming out. What's she going to chuck them away? They're full of nice comments about everybody. Come on. And it's just ridiculous how they do that. And then they get a front page, because I'm sure it's absolute nonsense. The other thing they said just a few days ago was that the two children, Archie and Lilibet, really want a grandfather. They want to get close to King Charles. Oh, we know why they want to do that. But any love or anything like that, how would they know they wanted to be with their grandfather? Because they don't know him. I mean, you know, and will Meghan come to the UK again? Highly unlikely. So this is all sort of snowflakes.
Yes. I just wonder, though, Angela, whether the reaction to some of the things that they've been doing most recently has finally convinced them that actually they're not very popular anymore. You know, after he came to the coronation and kind of snuck in and snuck out, hardly spent any time at all with his family, came on his own, looked a bit forlorn at the ceremony, you know, sat in the same row as Andrew, you know, very much a kind of secondary figure, and somebody who clearly wasn't important to the king or his brother. And when he saw his brother kissing, I think we spoke about this, kissing his father as he was crowned king of, you know, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, you could see in his face that he was so disappointed that he'd lost all that. Then we had the ridiculous comic episode of the so-called near-catastrophic car chase in New York, which was such a crock of nonsense that America was just laughing at them. And I just think they may have worked out finally that they need to shut up for a while.
No, I think Meghan's got that nature where she keeps on moving forward. If one thing fails, she's going to go after the next thing. She's going to produce these films. They're all going to be lovely, happy, ever after stories. Nobody wants to hear that. And nobody's interested in producers or directors, I'm afraid. They can compliment them on it, but it's not going to get in loads of money, you know, hundreds of millions of pounds, because Netflix has probably got people all over the place who would do it far better, and they don't like, Meghan doesn't like being told. I think it's all just paint, you know, it's just crazy, it's very silly. And I think it's the same thing as thinking that we're all stupid, that we don't understand what's really going on. You know, like saying to us, you must be very compassionate. Hello, you know, what about you two? You know, you mustn't fly on aeroplanes to save the world. Okay, but they can take all these private jets. So it's just assuming that we just take it in and don't bring it out. You know, I mean, it's not sad. It's just childish and silly.
Well,
and I think
it is. But do you not think it's possible, though, Angela, that you know, Netflix have looked at what's happened in the past year, and you know, yes, they did quite well with that first series, that documentary series. But, you know, is there anything in it for a second one? And the one thing about television, as we've learned this week from ITV, is that television companies are pretty ruthless. And if they smell that there's no money in something, they'll drop it like a stone. And I wonder whether they think, for the moment, the American public, certainly, and the rest of the world has just had enough of them.
Well, they can put it back, of course. They can put it on the shelf and bring it down later on. But this, to say that they're only going to be behind the cameras, it won't get them a job. No. I can't believe that. You know, they'll need propping up at all sides. And I think maybe people are saying that to change the conversation, which it has done.
And they'll need, obviously, some income because, you know, they like to spend money, don't they? They're not shy of, you know, having rather expensive taste, particularly with his security detail and all of that. But I just think that, you know, there's only so much that they can say. And we saw when she made her speech in New York, when she accepted that, you know, award for being a woman, effectively. You know, she's all about just, you know, talking in riddles and nonsense. And, you know,
Yes.
It's all about you being your own hero and, you know, your service that you do for people. And it's like, what are you talking about? You know, it's just rubbish.
Yes, it is rubbish. And also about her same story that she's told at least 100 times about telling off an advertising agency when she was a child.
Yeah.
Saying she didn't want just women in the kitchen. So she tells this all the time, but we've learned for a long time that her father said, no, it wasn't her. All the girls in the class had to write something, and she was one of them. But that's not interesting for her, so she makes up this story and tells it. And I think that the trouble with Meghan is that it all washes off. I don't think she feels that she should be quiet. I think she feels she's got to be worshipped and looked up to because she is a global person who nobody else can beat. And I think when you've got that in your head and in your mind, and you've got a husband who completely adores you, that you can get away with that. I don't think she can keep silent.
I think that's going to be very difficult for her, but I think over time, you know, they've obviously made a reasonable amount of money in their first couple of years in America, but it can't go on forever. And let's not forget that, you know, they haven't been feted by the top superstars. I mean, I'm told Oprah Winfrey actually is rather unhappy about the way that whole interview went and the way that it all kind of unfolded, because the racism accusation, which was the sort of the focal point of it all, turns out to be nonsense. He didn't even write about it in his book, and it's never been mentioned again. And in fact, when he did the interview with Tom Bradby, he said, oh no, that was something cooked up by the British press. Well, it wasn't. You know, he said it. They made the accusation.
Meghan hasn't said a word. Meghan won't do anything negative. She leaves that to Harry. It's all positive. But in terms of money, I think it will be difficult. I think they pay about £5 million a year for security. Also, we've read that Harry, who is taking the whole press to court, has got to pay $500,000 on his side. We, the plebs, have to pay $300,000 out of our tax.
I think he should have to pay all of it.
Well, so do I, actually, because it was a nonsense request.
Well, I mean, this man is out of control. He's got 6 separate court cases going on in the High Court. I think 1 is now closed, so 5. But it's like, you know, get a life. Stop suing everybody.
Well, this is what is so sad, because his whole way is negative. He's negative. He looks at his parents and his father and his brother and wants to be rude and unkind. So he's got so many resentments that it would take a year if his father wanted to sit down and listen. That's why he's probably going off to go for a long walk somewhere far away.
Well, don't worry, because if you go for a long walk with Meghan, she's always closely followed by a team of cameramen who capture every single second of it, like they did when she went hiking with her £17,000 Tiffany watch on.
Yes, well, this hiking she did on a day that she said she wanted to spend with Archie on his birthday.
Yeah.
Very interesting that, you know, she wasn't with him all the time. Where was her little boy on his birthday? Right. But also the photographers that she goes to was the same company that were chasing them or not chasing them, taking pictures of them. So, you know, she does use that company a lot. I think it just won't happen. The thing is, what I think will happen is people get less and less and less interested. Yeah. So they can talk as much as they like, and people say, oh no, not this again. You know, it's like a nagger, somebody nagging you, and you just say, oh, for goodness sake.
It's true. And what do you make of this business with the drug situation, where the Heritage Foundation, which, you know, is a right-wing think tank in America, but is calling for the government to release Harry's visa application form, because they say if he in fact does take as many drugs as he says he does, did he say that on the form? And if he didn't, should he even be allowed to stay there?
Yes, this depends whether he was honest and he said it on the form. We don't know that. And he's obviously being protected by President Biden.
Yes.
So that makes you quite suspicious. But I think that I was looking up the facts yesterday on the USA, how they take people in and not. You probably know much more than me. But they do say if people are in remission, they give them a chance and will let them stay. And they keep on doing that if that person goes into remission. So if he said, I have taken these drugs, but now I'm in remission, it might have worked to slip him in. But the thing is, I think we will go mad if it's found out that he did not tell the truth. And he's used his privilege as a senior member of the royal family to get in, when on the other hand he's absolutely slating the royal family and slating the whole monarchy. And I think that will really be the end. That's when they'll keep their mouths shut, I'm sure.
Absolutely right. Angela, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Angela Levin, royal biographer there on the Harry and Meghan. Latest news, which is that they've run out of things to say. They're not going to do any more books, not going to do any more films. They're only going to work behind the camera, and they're going to do good work, so I dare say. Some service. Normal service will resume soon. It's a joy, isn't it? Imagine never hearing from them again. How great would that be?